There's a kind of seeing that isn't about your eyes. It's not about sharp vision or intellect or even education. It's deeper than that, quieter, subtler, more dangerous. It's the kind of seeing that strips away the world as you thought it was and shows you what actually is. Not in neon lights. Not with explanations. Just that silent, clear knowing in your gut. None of this is quite what we've been told. And once you see like that, really see, there's no going back. That's what Alan Watts was talking about when he warned us of the peril that comes with clarity. Because the truth is, awakening isn't always a warm, euphoric high. Sometimes it's a cold wind that blows right through the center of your life, and suddenly all the things that felt permanent, status, money, success, reputation, look paper thin. Like watching a magician perform an illusion you used to believe in.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your feedback helps shape what we cover next, and you being here keeps the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
And you wonder if they can hear how hollow your answer sounds. You scroll through social media, and it's not envy that rises up but emptiness. The world is performing, and you're not playing along the same way anymore. At first, it's dizzying. You feel like you've lost something, your footing, your tribe, your certainty. You might even start wondering if you're broken. Why can't you care about the same things everyone else does? Why does this whole game feel off? Watts knew this feeling well. It's the price of waking up early in a room full of dreamers. You can't shake them awake. You can't shame them for sleeping. And you certainly can't go back to sleep yourself, not when you've tasted even a sliver of the truth. What truth? That most of what we're told to chase doesn't matter. That most of what we're taught to fear isn't real. That life is not a linear climb but a dance. A divine play in which we're all actors forgetting we're on a stage. And once you know that, you start to feel the weight of it. The freedom. And also, the loneliness. Because this seeing doesn't usually come with a community. It doesn't come with celebration or validation. In fact, it often comes with misunderstanding. People might see you as detached, cold, arrogant. They won't know you're carrying a truth so gentle it doesn't need to speak. So you stop trying to explain yourself. You step back. You watch more than you speak. You notice how much people need their illusions and how cruel it would be to tear them away before they're ready. This is what Watts calls conscious distance. It's not isolation. It's not aloofness. It's awareness that doesn't attach. It's the ability to see the play and still stay in it. Still smile. Still love. Still laugh, not because you're fooled, but because you're free. This is the paradox. The moment you see through the game, your job is not to exit. It's to return to it with grace. To live in the world without being of it. To embody wisdom not by preaching, but by being a living, breathing example of presence. It's harder than it sounds, because the world will keep tugging at you. Success will still knock on your door, dressed in metrics and followers and applause. Fear will still whisper to you in the voice of what if you fall behind. Loneliness will sneak in, especially when you don't have many people you can truly talk to about what you're feeling. But if you can hold your center, if you can remember that this is all a passing show, you can begin to move through life differently. You no longer seek to win the game. You learn to play it lightly. You no longer try to convince others of your truth. You let your peace speak for you. You no longer grip tightly to outcomes. You start dancing with uncertainty. And that's when something beautiful begins to unfold. You become less reactive, less pulled by the tide. You begin to respond instead of reflex. You pause. You breathe. You feel everything more fully, but it sticks to you less. You start to notice small things: a child's laugh, the way light falls on a stranger's face, how a breeze can carry a scent from miles away. These are not distractions. These are reminders that this not the paycheck or the praise is what's real. And slowly, life becomes richer. Not because you figured it out, but because you've stopped needing to. You don't need to be right. You don't need to be important. You don't need to be enlightened. You just need to be here, fully, honestly, presently. That's the wisdom Watts points to again and again, that life's mystery is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be embraced. That the world's illusions aren't mistakes, they're part of the dance. That love is not a reward for right living, it's the starting point of all clarity. And this, perhaps, is the most radical part. Even after all the illusions fall away, after all the roles and rules collapse, what remains isn't emptiness. It's love. Not the sentimental, fragile kind, but the deep, unconditional, joyful kind that sees everything, the absurd, the broken, the cruel, the glorious, and says, yes, yes to all of it. Yes to being human, even when it's messy. Yes to the theater, even when the play is tragic. Yes to the illusion, because within it is the truth. So you start to show up differently.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your feedback helps shape what we cover next, and you being here keeps the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
Inhabiting it more fully than ever. This is what it means to live with clarity, not to float above life, but to fall into it heart first, to laugh in the middle of a breakdown, to dance in the middle of disappointment, to hold grief and joy in the same breath, to live with your hands open, ready to let go, ready to receive. And yes, sometimes you'll be misunderstood, sometimes painfully so. But Watts reminds us that every visionary was first considered mad. Every awakening was first mistaken for alienation. Every truth teller walked alone before their truth became accepted. But your job is not to be accepted. Your job is to embody the truth anyway. To live the music even if no one else can hear it yet. Because over time, your quiet example becomes an invitation, not to follow you, but to wake up to themselves. And if you can do that, if you can walk with your eyes open, your heart soft, and your soul steady, you become not just someone who sees. You become someone who loves because you see. That's the point. Not to escape the illusion, not to destroy it, but to walk through it kindly, lightly, awake. So if you've been feeling the ache of awareness, the weight of seeing what others don't, remember, you're not broken. You're not alone. You're just one of the few who've been called to live with your eyes open. And yes, it's harder, but it's also deeper, richer, realer. Don't give up on the world. Don't check out. Step in and play your part with grace, with humor, and above all, with love. Because the real danger of seeing what others don't is forgetting that you're still meant to dance anyway. And maybe, just maybe, help others remember the music. So, you've stepped into the truth. The veil's lifted. The show has paused just long enough for you to peek behind the curtain. You see the wires, the mirrors, the stage lights. And while everyone else is still mesmerized by the illusion, clapping and crying and gasping on cue, you're standing there, half in, half out, holding a truth too heavy to explain. Welcome to the quiet apocalypse. Not the end of the world, but the end of the version of the world you once believed in. This is the real danger Alan Watts was pointing to, the fallout of perception, the strange ache of clarity, not because seeing the truth is tragic, but because it changes you in a way that doesn't fit neatly into the world you used to know. You walk through the same streets, talk to the same people, smile in the same photos, and yet nothing feels quite the same. You've outgrown the script. And maybe, in the beginning, you try to go back. Try to pretend you still care about what you used to. You make small talk. You chase old goals. You fake excitement over promotions or likes or the latest socially approved ambition. But deep down, you know none of it lands the way it used to. The ladder looks like a hamster wheel. The performance feels flat. The applause echoes hollow. And what makes it worse, what really makes it feel like a curse, is that no one else seems to notice. Everyone's busy. Everyone's bought in. Everyone's distracted, asleep, sedated by the noise. And here you are, clear, conscious, raw, and lonely. Because awareness doesn't come with a welcome committee. It doesn't hand you a badge or a community or an awakened people's group chat. It drops you into silence. This is where a lot of people retreat. They run from their inside. Or they armor up in spiritual ego, hiding behind words like ascension or frequency, convincing themselves they've risen above all this nonsense. But Watts would call that just another illusion. Because the real power of seeing isn't about leaving the world. It's about returning to it fully. Not as a blind participant, but as a conscious player. That's the challenge. Not just to see, but to stay. To stay kind when you're misunderstood. To stay present when you feel unseen. To stay humble when you know more than you can say. To stay open when everything in you wants to shut down. That's the path of the awakened. Not to ascend into bliss, but to descend into love. Not to become untouchable, but to become more human, tender, messy, patient. And here's where the paradox really lands. The deeper your awareness, the more fully you begin to participate in life. You stop pretending, yes, but you also stop resisting. You show up. You breathe deeper. You feel everything. And you stop needing life to make sense, because you've stopped needing it to be anything other than what it is. You're not trying to fix it. You're not trying to win. You're not trying to prove. You're just here completely, which, funny enough, is what the world needed from you all along. Because when you show up like that with real presence, unguarded and uncloaked, people feel it. Even if they can't name it. Even if they don't understand it. They feel the steadiness in your silence. The grace in your gaze. The peace in your pauses. And slowly, something strange begins to happen. People start to trust you. Not because you're flashy or brilliant or loud. But because you see them and you're not trying to change them. That's rare. That's sacred. Because most people are waiting to be judged, or fixed, or sold something. But when someone simply holds space for them, sees through the mask, and loves what's behind it, that's when real healing happens. And that's your quiet offering. Not your knowledge, not your insight, but your being. You become a sanctuary, a mirror, a presence. And the most beautiful part, you don't need recognition for it. In fact, the more clearly you see, the less you need to be seen. Your identity starts to loosen. Your story softens. You stop gripping the idea of who you should be and start living into who you actually are moment by moment. You become less a role and more a rhythm. Less a name and more a note in the symphony of things. Watts would say that's the music of the universe. Not something you control, but something you join. And the joining, that's the miracle. To be aware and alive. To see the illusion and still play. To feel the suffering and still open your heart. That's the integration. That's the work. That's the way. And yes, it's hard. There will be days you want to unsee it all. Days when clarity feels like a burden you didn't ask for. Days when you long for the comfort of the old dream. But those days pass, and in their place comes something softer, something steadier, not the bliss you imagined, something better, a deep okayness, a quiet joy that doesn't need a reason, a love that doesn't need a name, a knowing that doesn't need proof. And when that takes root, when that becomes your home, you realize that you're no longer waiting to arrive. You're already here. You always were. You were just asleep. And now, you're not. So breathe. Let yourself feel the absurdity. Let yourself cry at beauty. Let yourself fall apart and come back together and fall apart again. Let the illusion be what it is. Let others believe what they need to. Let life play out in all its glorious, ridiculous drama. And you keep walking, with soft steps, with open eyes, with a heart that breaks and heals in the same beat. Not above the world, but in it, as it. And if you ever forget, just remember this. You don't have to explain what you see. You just have to live like you've seen it. That's enough. More than enough. That's the real awakening. And if you're still here reading, breathing, feeling this, it means you already know. Maybe not in words. Maybe not in some grand, lightning strike revelation. But in that quiet, aching part of you that looks around at the world and thinks, there has to be more than this. And you're right. There is more. Not more to achieve. Not more to prove. Just more to see. More to feel. More to be. Because life isn't asking you to conquer it. It's asking you to wake up to it. But waking up is never neat. It's not a tidy spiritual checklist or some sparkly, filtered version of wisdom. It's messy. It's gutting. It's intensely real. You lose people. You lose old versions of yourself. You grieve ideas that once gave you comfort. And yet, you gain something immeasurable. Presence. Not the kind that's performative. The kind that's anchored. That sees the chaos and still shows up with open palms. That hears the noise of the world, but doesn't let it drown the stillness within. Alan Watts called it dancing within the theater. Because you can't avoid the drama of life. But you can choose how you move through it. You can be aware without becoming jaded. You can witness without detaching. You can play your role not because you've forgotten it's a role, but because you finally remember. And that remembrance, it's everything. It's what lets you hold contradictions in your chest without panic. It's what lets you laugh in the middle of a storm. It's what allows you to see the absurdity of the world and still choose to love it ferociously, tenderly, without apology. Because the real danger of seeing what others don't, it's not the loneliness. It's not the alienation. It's the temptation to stop loving, to become cold, to become distant, to stand at the edge of the stage and sneer at the play instead of stepping into it with grace. But you didn't come here to spectate. You came here to feel, to fall, to remember, and then to help others do the same. Not by force, not by preaching, but by living in a way that's so radically honest, so rooted in presence, that people can't help but soften in your orbit. This is the quiet revolution. No fireworks, no slogans, just eyes that see, hearts that stay open, and souls that know. The real truth isn't something you shout. It's something you are. So go gently. Go fully. Go now. And when the illusion tugs at you again, and it will smile. Dance. And keep going. You've seen the truth. Now, be it. Because once you've really seen, you don't need to convince anyone. The performance stops being about persuasion and starts being about presence. You become a quiet force in the room, not because you're trying to be mysterious or wise or holy, but because you've simply stopped pretending. Pretending to care about things that don't matter. Pretending to chase things that don't satisfy. Pretending to be someone you're not. And people feel that. Even if they can't name it, they know when they're in the presence of someone who's living from a deeper place. It unsettles them at first, maybe even annoys them. You're not reacting the way you're supposed to. You don't rise to the drama. You don't echo the outrage. You're not chasing the same shiny objects. But eventually, some lean in. They start asking different questions. They start getting quiet around you. Not out of fear but out of curiosity. They can sense you're in touch with something they've lost or maybe never even knew they had. Not a doctrine. Not a belief system. Just something real. Something still. Something whole. And that something? It's not a product. It's not a brand. It's not something you can slap on your Instagram bio like spiritually awakened, part-time minimalist, full-time vibe curator. No. It's not flashy. It's not marketable. It doesn't come with a certificate or an invite to a retreat in Bali. It's just presence. Actual, undiluted presence. The kind that doesn't need to announce itself because it is itself. And people feel that. You walk into a room and suddenly, the air shifts. Not because you're being dramatic or aloof but because you're not faking it. You're not playing the same game everyone else is playing. You're not trying to win approval, dominate the conversation, or subtly fish for validation. You're just there, fully, freely, and in a world obsessed with performance, that is radical. But here's the kicker, it's lonely at first. When you stop performing, you lose the applause. When you stop hustling for approval, you stop getting the dopamine hits. And when you stop clinging to the version of you that people liked, you might lose their affection altogether. But what you gain? Oh God, it's better. You gain yourself. Not the curated version. Not the liked version. Not the one who plays it safe in every conversation, smoothing your edges so you don't scare anyone off. No, you get the real you. The messy, wild, tender, burning, boundaryless you that feels everything and isn't ashamed of it anymore. Thanks so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, you're officially part of the small percentage of people who don't just click away, and that means a lot. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me your thoughts, your ideas, or even what you'd like to see next. I read every single one of them, and your feedback genuinely shapes the direction of this channel. If you enjoyed the video, tap that like button. It tells YouTube this content is worth sharing. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next upload. We've got more exciting videos coming, and trust me, you'll want to be here for them. This channel is just getting started, and your support helps it grow faster than you realize. Thank you again for spending a part of your day here with me. Stay curious, stay motivated, and as always, take care of yourself. Until next time, I'll see you in the next video.